In this episode, we will talk about struggling to adapt to life in the Philippines as an expat. Here is today's question/rant. I've been living in the Philippines for almost 18 months, with only a brief few months back in the United States. I can't settle here. My wife is somehow and somewhat happy. She's half and has found a purpose in life and a business. I'm running my business remotely, working nights sometimes or getting up early in the morning for meetings. Financially, we are doing great, but we were doing okay in the US too. Mentally, I am completely cooked. I feel always on edge, unable to relax. There is constant construction within 100 yards of our house, 6 days a week. The HOA bans Sunday, but it still happens until I go and tell them to stop. My wife is now mad at me for telling them to stop for fear of retaliation to our house or cars. We live in a wonderful luxury neighborhood, but the construction guys are all around us in the shady shanty houses. We go into town and can't have the windows down because of jeepney and taxi fumes. I feel like half the time I am mad at myself for not being happy with how privileged our life is compared to everyone around us, but it doesn't make me feel any less pissed off with everything around me. I feel I'm becoming a miserable bastard to be around. When I hang out with my expat friends, who I can speak honestly to, it just turns into a rant somewhat like this. I know a lot of people are happy here. They have left a life they were unhappy with abroad and started a new one and found themselves. I feel like I have done the opposite. I've taken a life I was perfectly happy with and put myself into a prison of my own making. So now, the advice. Has anyone here managed to turn their frown upside down? Did anyone else here really struggle for a while? What helped? How many of us can relate to this man's story? That we came here to the Philippines expecting paradise, calm, peace, and a positive life because we were told Filipinos are friendly people. Perhaps some of them are, but at what price? Your environment, the pollution, the constant noise, and the always threat of being attacked for being a target, either verbally, physically, financially, makes you want to live on edge, and slowly you start to lose yourself. You cannot recognize who you are anymore because you're always angry and upset. Your smiles become frowns, and you get to be walking around with your head down, not looking up, and not wanting to interact with anyone, locals or expats. I am Hubbad says, maybe check into a hotel for a week in a place you know is quiet. If I settled here permanently, I would have to have detached, soundproofed house, surrounded by my own land to avoid the noise. It drives me crazy as well. The constant noise combined with working evenings and nights is tough. For me, I'm so much happier than the UK, so just about acceptable. But honestly, it's only my partner being here keeping me from leaving at this stage. Imagine having to live here only if you have your own house and land and soundproof home. That is the reality. That is the truth about this country. And the truth is 90%, if not 99% of us would not be in the Philippines if it were not for a woman. So ask yourself, is it worth it? Is that woman worth everything else in your life to put up with? Many times men have options. They solely choose not to take it because they do not want to argue, disappoint, or let down the woman that should be loving them, supporting them, and also following their lead. When did men become this way? When did we allow women to have complete control of our lives? I am not naive. I understand men, we are all driven by the same thing. However, we do have a lot of control of who we are chasing and who is actually supporting us in our lives and happiness. It should not always be about them. It should also be for your own happiness. Next Edge says, I dealt with it by just accepting it. Hard, I know. I have karaoke 2 times a week outside my window and often some drinking party until 4 or 5 a.m. on weekends. I just accepted it and got some earplugs when it's too much. As I said, it wasn't easy. Alternatively, pick a room and surround-proof it. It's not that hard. DIY, cheap. Add some white noise and you are in your own world, and at least it will give you a room to escape to. I second the guy. For the beach house, if you can afford it, go for it. If some quiet vacation house, then you might be finding yourself in better just to move there instead. Imagine having to soundproof a room in your house just so you can have some peace and quiet. International.22 makes this point by saying, it does sound that most of your issues stem from where you live. Specifically within the Philippines, there are quieter places here, and you have the means, so you should look into moving. But honestly, the Philippines in general is not a tropical island dream destination. Many thought it was before coming here, and it's also becoming increasingly more expensive to live in here, more expensive than all the other developed neighboring Southeast Asian countries. The Philippines is losing its appeal, and the only advantage it currently still holds is the people speak English. Fox says, true, it's very different living here compared to vacationing here. It can't be more different. That's what I'm trying to tell people. The friendliness of the people, though, that's what keeps me going. It's not the women. I already have Filipina, with 2 kids with her. I'm not looking at other women. Well, there's no point of me reading your message, sir. Timo says, I don't actually think people are that kind here. It's sort of a cultural, obligatory type of kindness, but in actuality, there are always motives behind said kindness. I have had a lot of run-ins with thieves, scam artists, liars, and also general laziness, lack of reliability with workers. For some background information, I am a farmer here, and I have 3 hectares. I now tend to it all by myself because I have found this offers me more peace of mind and dealing with the locals, even if I sometimes get a little behind on tasks. It's sort of weird too, because even if you attempt to pay above the average daily rate, you still get the same attitude or substandard work. When we first moved here, we were surrounded by sugarcane, but the people who owned a lot next to us decided to build a house, basically right up against the boundary, ironically, the most flood-prone part of the land. They knocked down my barbed wire fence, dumping filled dirt, and said they would fix it, but I ended up fixing it myself. 2 weeks later, our engineer that built our house was caught upcharging 300 to 400% on particular items. I have also many bunches of bananas stolen and also bamboo in the back of my property by the river. I caught people also chopping one of my trees along the river to make charcoal. It's like the country is a den of thieves, and definitely understand there's a noise problem here too. Even in rural areas, everyone is blaring music late into the night. It's so loud that the walls of my house shake. My only solution is basically self-isolation. I planted a wall of giant bamboo on the border of the entire land to make it completely impassable. I have 2 layers of walls, fences too, one around the house and one around the property. I tend to have better experience with older Filipinos, but I chalk that up to them having grown up and in a time where honor and integrity meant something. So basically, the few friends I do have are 30 years my senior at minimum. A sad reality for this person and many others. This is the truth about this country. Essentially, it's not worth coming here, even for the women who are subpar. It is now time for yesterday's best and worst comments. This video was about the man who said he's old and overweight and can he still date in the Philippines. Jin Kazama says, I'm currently in Japan as I watch this. Women here look like angels compared to what you will find in the Philippines. Most women here are so beautiful. Comparing Japanese women to women in the Philippines, it's just not fair. Why do you think Filipinos hate comparison? Why do you think they always give you slack if you try to compare the Philippines to places like Thailand or Vietnam? It's very obvious because they know they will never win at anything. There is no worst comment from this video, as we all agree that as long as you have money, you have a chance here. Thanks for watching. Subscribe. Don't be lazy. God bless.